Huh? Alvin, yes, there are some things up. I've spoken to him. Alvin is very much aware. He will come up. He will come up. But there are some things that need to be done. Come on, get it right. Get it right. Wait, wait.
Wasted. We didn't have finished performing. As they're collating, let him just keep them busy.
Now,
See, most of them are leaving. There's a program next.
yes, sir, but it's
Tell me.
See, it's not about you bringing in things from there, they settle, they don't understand. He will come up. Please just hold for a while. There
Hey, Adriel, this is Afolabi speaking. So what is going on?
Good afternoon, Afolabi.
Yeah, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Waiting for a signal to start. Okay, I just got a signal. Oscar, are you there? Can you confirm if we're live? Oscar. Hello, Oscar, can you confirm if we're live?
Yeah, I can see the screen from here. We are live.
Okay, awesome.
It's actually the Student Week.
Okay, have you settled on it, Mario? You've settled on it. Okay. We are supposed to do a seminar by 2:30. And then the time elapsed. I spoke to Alvin early enough. Please, the mic is echoing. I spoke to Alvin. We are supposed to introduce him, but because the time has elapsed, we quickly need to have the seminar, and then he come up stage. That's the essence, so that you will have an ample time to do what you want to do. So please, yes, Alvin will definitely come up, but we are switching up to the seminar. Immediately after the seminar, the program and the singing and the dancing continues. Thank you.
Good afternoon, MCIU. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Getting Ready for the Workplace Seminar. It promises to be a very exciting time with the professionals we have here today. I'm glad to welcome you all. Without wasting much of our time, we'll be going straight to the business for the day. We'll be having the opening prayer. Can we have one of the students please say opening prayer for us? Any of the students that's there, can you just say the opening prayer for us, please? Okay, Mr. Falabi,
Okay,
please
we are
say the
praying.
opening prayer.
The mic is echoing. Please, let's pray. Let's bow our heads. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you again for a gracious time. We thank you for this seminar. We thank you, Lord, for the knowledge. Abba, Father, we ask that you breathe upon us understanding as we learn and receive of you. And thank you because no one will listen and will go back empty. Thank you, Holy Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, so without wasting too much of our time, we would just go straight to welcoming since I've had a lot of activities for the day. I'm going to skip number 2 and 3, the opening national anthem and the school anthem, and then we'll just go straight to the VC's opening remarks. If we have the VC around, can she please unmute her mic and speak? Professor Ibinka Fuakpe, please unmute your mic and give us your opening remarks.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm no more on Zoom. I'm here physically.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
The President, Michael and Cecilia Ibro University, Dr. Mrs. Cecilia Ibro, who is joining us virtually, principal officers of the university, the registrar is here, deans and heads of departments here present, our distinguished and highly profiled panelists joining us on Zoom, staff of MCIU, students of MCIU, ladies and gentlemen, I say good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the webinar, which has been tagged Getting Ready for the Workplace. This is a seminar deliberately put together to prepare our students for their lives after school. The best time to prepare for this is while one is still in school. You will agree with me. We are privileged to have with us today high-flying, young, talented Nigerians, both male and female, who are making their mark in their various fields of endeavor. You are all warmly welcome, and I know we are in for a great time this afternoon. We desire that the program will be an interactive one, and we want audience participation as much as possible. So I want to encourage the audience, especially our students, please feel very free to ask as many questions as possible. And I know that the panelists will do justice in giving you correct answers to them all. I want to thank our president for approving the live stream of the event and for joining us even after giving her a short notice. We only told her yesterday. I want to thank Mr. Folabi Babalola, a geophysicist, a FUTA alumnus, and my former student working with Shell in the US for bringing the panelists together. I want to thank all our panelists for accepting to speak to us. I thank our moderators, Mrs. Oti and Ejiro, for accepting to be part of the event. Once again, I welcome us all to MCIU. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Mrs. Ibinka Fuakpe, the Vice Chancellor of MCIU. Thank you for your short and precise speech. Welcome everybody once again. Welcome the students and our panelists and the co-founder, Dr. Mrs. Cecilia Ebro. Thank you all for joining this webinar. I would like for Omashe OT to unmute a mic and introduce our panelists.
Okay, thank you, Ejiro. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to the co-founder, Dr. Mrs. Cecilia Ibru, to the Vice Chancellor, all other protocols, extant and existing protocols. Now to introduce our speakers for today. Mr. Yomi Fawaini served as a lecturer at the Federal University of Technology, Akure, the University of Lagos, and Lagos Business School. He currently works as a human resource professional with a multinational in Lagos. He is married. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Yomi Fawaini. We also have today Tinuke Bosun Okushaga, a HR management consultant. Tinuke is a management consultant with over 13 years experience spanning financial services, management, education, and consulting. Over the years, she has developed expertise in workforce capability assessment, performance management, organization design, career planning, talent management, recruitment, and change management. She's passionate about organizational development and helping young people discover themselves and chart their professional courses. She has an MBA from the prestigious Lagos Business School and a Bachelor of Technology from the Federal University of Technology, Akure. Tinuke is a mentor with Teach for Nigeria Foundation, Women in Business and Public Service, that's WIMBIS, and she also sits on the board of St. Saviour's School in Temeta, Lagos. Please let's put our hands together for Tinuke. You're welcome, Tinuke. Oh, sorry, I'm told my audio isn't clear.
So I'll just take it up from there. Your audio, I'll just take it up from there.
Oh yes, please go ahead, Adrian. Please go ahead.
So our next speaker, Mr. Ni Adeshokan, is an operational excellence and project management professional with over 18 years of experience in the automotive and energy industries. He currently works with Shell as a continuous improvement lead, responsible for driving operational excellence. Ni started his career as a mechanical engineer at Cummins, an engine manufacturing company, working on new product design and project management roles. After obtaining his MBA, he took on leadership roles in purchasing and manufacturing operations before joining Shell in 2013. He holds professional certifications in project management, change management, and operations. He is passionate about personal development, mentoring, and developing people. He enjoys spending time with his family, traveling, volunteering, reading, and playing sports in his spare time. Ifemena Iyede. Ifemena is a successful energy professional with over 15 years of international work experience in the UK, France, and Nigeria. In her current role as strategic planning economist, she manages the economic valuation of a portfolio of gas assets for Total Energies Nigeria. Before her current role, she was a senior engineer and have been a major player in the development and management of multiple oil and gas fields across Nigeria and Europe. She holds an executive MBA from INSEAD, Paris, France, MSc Subsea Engineering from Cranfield University, UK, and PhD in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Benin, Nigeria. If as popularly known, is an ardent believer in personal development. She follows her passion for mentoring young professionals. She was previously a board member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, where she served as the first female chairperson of the SP 103. Can we have a round of applause for all of our panelists today? So I would like to have our panelists unmute their mics as we are going into the panel discussion. Let me start with Tinuke. Tinuke, can you unmute your mic, please? As an HR professional or hiring manager, what do you look for in a CV to even shortlist a candidate for an interview?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed. Thank you for this opportunity to share some knowledge with our undergraduates. I always look forward to such opportunities. Before addressing your question, I think, is it Efe? Ejiro? Okay. All right. I'd like to take a little dive into my career. I believe storytelling is always very impactful. And then from your stories, people can pick lessons and then take some key takeaways that can help them on their journeys also. I'm going to be highlighting about 4 critical elements that I think every graduate should have as they journey into the workplace. All right, so on graduating from FUTA, it's a privilege to have gone to FUTA. You have a lot of males in FUTA because the University of Technology. So you are exposed to engineering, drawing, and the likes within your first 2 years. And I'm happy to share this platform with 2 other Futarians, ex-Futarians. All right, on graduating in 2002, of course, like probably almost every graduate, I really didn't have any clue of next steps. NYC came and I was posted to Adamawa, that's Yola. I'm sure nobody wants to go to Adamawa State right now, but hey, I went to Adamawa State. I think it's 22 hours by road. And so when my father heard Adamawa, okay, we have to go and look for flight money. You can't go by road. That means you'll be on the road for 22 hours. So that was my first experience of going on a plane. So even if only for going on the plane, I was happy to go to Adamawa then. All right, so I went to Adamawa, and I think prior to then, I think my dad had said, do you think you want to go that far? Maybe you should wait for 1 more year and then do a repost so that they can post you. And I mean, around that time, you hear a lot of your colleagues, your friends saying, it's better you get posted to Lagos, or somewhere in the south, particularly Lagos, Abuja. It's easier to secure a job doing NYC, and from there, you can have a permanent job. So it was like a disadvantage, going all the way to the Northeast. But here, I wanted the experience, and I think it's good to explore. All right, so I was posted to a local government, and I mean, like every other local government around there, nothing really happens. People hardly come to work, and I think I was in the accounting department, and it's only during month end that you see people in the office. So they pay salary. You can imagine paying salaries in cash. So the accountant, once it's salary time, goes to the bank, brings back a Ghana must go, and then they have a schedule, and everybody files in one by one. They count their cash. I'm like, in this age and time, things like this still go on. I mean, so that is why, as young people, there are a lot of opportunities to change things in Nigeria. Not all of us will run to the US like Afolabi has done. Some of us have decided to stay here and see how much of impact we can make. All right, so I spent my 1 year there and then came back home. Now I'm back home, what next? My father is a professor. So the next thing he thought was, you know what, I think you should go and do your master's. Instead of waiting for a job, staying at home, I think you should just start your master's. And he had a couple of friends in University of Ibadan then. And, even before I could say Jack, he had, gotten, processed the admission. And then, I was just offered admission to do master's in agroeconomics, which was what I read initially. All right, so with mixed feelings, I knew I didn't want to do a master's. I wanted to work. I want to see what the world of work looks like. I've had school for 5 years. I don't want to go from school to school. Let me experience the real world, and see how things go on there. So not everybody should follow my advice, because I'm going to put a caveat here. Have a vision for yourself, get a role model. Because some of you, your father may say, go for a master's, and yes, you go for the master's, and it works out well. So I started the master's quite all right. Back then, I mean, we don't have a luxury of internet-enabled phones, so you need to go to cyber cafes and all that. So I kept applying for jobs. Every little break we have in class, I cross over. There's a shopping complex in front of University of Ibadan. I cross the shopping complex, I go to cyber cafe, and continue my job search. So I think probably about after a semester on the program, I think I just got an email saying I should come for an interview for a sales role in Lagos. So I was quite excited. I mean, and prior to that, my dream had been to work in a consulting outfit. I wanted a multinational consulting experience. And I think out of the blues, I just searched randomly. I think Accenture was the leading consulting outfit then. So out of the blues, I just searched online. So who are people in Accenture? I don't know anybody there. So I just went online. I saw somebody's name, and I just sent him an email, unsolicited email, and sent him my CV. And then he responded and said, oh, Tinuke, thank you for your email. I've gone through your CV, but unfortunately, if you don't have a 2-1, we don't admit students who don't have a 2-1. So you need to have a minimum of a 2-1 to even stand a chance. All right, so that was the first slap in the face. Okay, so your dream of working in a multinational consulting outfit gone down the drain. You don't have a 2-1. So just forget about it and move on. All right, so when this sales opportunity come after probably several applications to banks, blah, 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 it wasn't the ideal kind of job anyone would want to go for, especially when, you've got a couple of your friends who have gotten the job with banks. Then, you hear Oceanic pays 80,000 naira per month. You hear Zenith Bank pays, you just hear all those within 80,000, 70,000, 100,000 for fresh graduates. And now you got a sales role. And do you know what was the salary of this sales role? If I tell you, you laugh. So the job doesn't have a salary, it has commission. That means based on the sales you make, you earn money. The only thing guaranteed was your transport allowance. So every month you have, I think, an allowance of 5,000 naira for transport allowance. So I looked myself, I thought about it. Okay, staying at home, I can have all the comfort of being at home, complete my master's. I think every month then, I think my father gives me maybe a 10,000 naira allowance or something like that for just general upkeep. So now the second choice, go to Lagos, go and earn you stay with your mom's brother, go and earn 4K salary every month, and then jumping from bus to bus, something inside me just wanted that experience. And I felt, whether I jump from bus to bus or I earn 4,000, I'm going to be gathering skills. I'm going to be learning sales. I'm going to be learning networking. I'm going to be learning teamwork. I think these are skills that I don't have. I don't know where that thought came from. I just knew there are some things required to function in the workplace. And I think irrespective of where you get those experiences, just get the experience. And also in that journey, before I decided on that, on taking that job, I think the church I was attending then, there was a medical doctor then that said, Tinuke, I've watched you over time. I think part of what I did was I was volunteering for the church office, helping them sort out administrative tasks. So just not to be idle, I looked for an opportunity to volunteer. So the doctor told me, based on what I've seen, I think you're good at administration, you're good at people management. And he suggested there's a professional body, for human resources. Why don't you take their form and, explore it? And that was the very first time I heard of anything, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. I never heard. So when he said, I said, oh, really? Oh, that's good. So immediately I got to Lagos. That was the first thing I went for. I enrolled with CIPM and I started my sales job. All right. So 6 months into that sales job, the company expanded and they decided they never had an HR function. And they decided we needed to have an HR function. And they put up an advert. I think they wanted people who had 3-4 years experience. I had 0 experience. All I had was that, I was already a student member of a professional body and I have probably a few months of sales experience. So when the advert came out, I went to meet the executive director. Then I said, I saw this advert. I think this is something I really want to do. I'm interested. And I said, well, you don't have the experience, but if you have, you're already in the organization, so probably you have some institutional knowledge. Try your luck and see if you're successful, all well and good. And so I gave it a shot. I did the first written test. I passed. They shortlisted me for interview. Now interview, I know they're going to be asking real time on the job questions. So most times when you go for interviews, people don't want to hear stories. They'll tell you, most real interviews start with, tell me, share your experience. They will start with share your experience in your previous experience. So most people always want to know what you've done before. So now that I don't have any experience, how will I deal with this interview? So do you know what I did? I said I was already a student member at CIPM, so I go for tutorial lessons from time to time, I think every week, every weekend. So I just went to that tutorial class. In that tutorial class, you have the experience, highly experienced, you have mid-level, you have, people who have, few years of experience. So you have a mix of everything experience. So I just went to meet them. Please, I have an interview for an HR. I've never done HR before. What do you do in HR? Please tell me, what do you do in HR? So if you had to set up an HR function, how would you go about it? What would you do? So I picked all their brains. I got all that information and I went for the interview and I got the job. So my first job, I pioneered the HR function for that investment company. So that was how my journey into HR started. If you look at that story, you see that it was very twisted. It's not the straightforward, kind of journey most of us fairy tales we listen to. It wasn't straightforward. And I was there for about probably a year and a half too. And do you know what happened? The company shut down, another hurdle. Now the company has shut down. What next? The little skills I gathered, within those 1.5 to 2 years, I started talking to my friends, who had small companies. I said, I can consult for you. I can help you set up your HR function. I can help you do your recruitment. I can help you, develop your policies, So during that period, while I was looking for another opportunity, I was consulting for my friends here and there, helping them do little things here and there. Most small organizations don't have HR functions. So I was helping, doing little consulting here and there before the next job came. So the next job came in a bank, in a microfinance bank. I was there for a while, I think for about 6 months. The culture of the organization wasn't favorable, wasn't comfortable, didn't aid my growth, and I started looking for opportunities. So what is peculiar about this story? I also want to draw out a lesson on values. One of my colleagues in the office, I think, brought in a Guardian newspaper or some sort, and then she told me, I think there's an advert here, HR consulting. You say you want to do consulting. I think you should go through it. I went through it. It was an indigenous consulting, a small indigenous consulting outfit. So I applied, and the woman interviewed me, called me for an interview somewhere in Lekki. On getting there, she asked me personal questions. I think then she was looking for somebody who was single. I think that also addresses questions somebody asked about organizations always put discriminate. They'll say, are you married? You mustn't be beyond a certain age. Yes, those things are real. So she wanted somebody who was relatively single. I was still single, who was going to be single for a while. So she asked me, do you have plans to get married soon? In the immediate, because this job will require travels, and I need somebody who's, at the drop of a hat can take up a bag and travel. And I knew I had, I think probably 6 months down the line, I was planning to get married. So I thought about it. You need this job seriously. You can't continue that organization because it's just not working. And now this person is looking for somebody who is not going to get married soon. What do you do? And I told her, I have plans to get married, as a matter of fact, in the next 6 months. So is there any way, we can still manage this? She said it won't work. That, the requirements of the job, with somebody who is a newly married, I won't work. Now, you know what? I like the way you interviewed. You have the zeal, you have the skills, you have, what I'm looking for. I'll keep your CV in view, and, when other opportunities come, I'll let you know. And that was how that ended, and I went back, downcasted somehow, but you know what? looking to the brighter side that, something would work. I think within 2 weeks, that same woman called me back and said, you know what, there's an opportunity elsewhere, and I think you'll fit in, even though they want people with extensive experience, but with the way you're interviewed, I think you will fit in. And that was how I landed my job at Lagos Business School. So don't be part of those who doctor CVs. If I didn't, I forgot to mention that in the journey of my job search, one of my friends said, you know what, in our bank, if you can change your age to reflect you're no more than 24 years or 23 years old, you can put in your application. So people do it, just change your age.
Thank you so much, Tinu.
And I said no. So
thank you.
Let me just summarize in 4 points.
Can you please just wrap up this?
Yes, I am. Ejiro, I am. So in 4 points, what are the key takeaways for young people? Have a vision. Don't go into the world of work, yes, as a fresh graduate, you may start with any job in the market, but have a vision of what you are going to. And this will fuel your need for a professional body, getting a mentor, forming a professional connection. So have a vision. Number 2, be willing to take risk. Don't always think things will come to you at your comfort zone. Be willing to take risk. And number 3, the last one, go after knowledge and experience and not the money. Thank you, Ejiro. Over to you.
So you still didn't answer my initial question.
Please go ahead.
So I asked you, what as a HR professional, what do you look for in a CV to even shortlist a candidate for interview? Please, just 60 seconds.
Okay, so all the other ones I said were to help you even have something in your CV. So now when you have a CV, what do I look for? What do we look for? Your layout. There's a way you can structure your CV that it will be a put off. People who start CVs and all you see first is their biography, where I'm the first of 5 children. I live in Ring Road. My father is a teacher. My mother is, no, but I'm not interested in that. I want your profile, a brief summary of your profile. That profile should tell me the skills you have, the competencies you have, and your aspirations. So that is what I'm looking for first and foremost in a CV. Then I'm looking at your experience. As fresh graduates, you may say, I don't have experience, but you have a lot of opportunities to gather experience. Holiday job, don't sit at home throughout breaks, holidays. Look for opportunities to go to an uncle, auntie, mommy, daddy's office and go and learn something. So don't have a CV that has 0 experience. So I'm looking at your experience, your profile. I'm looking at the experience and I'm looking at the competencies you've gathered. Oh, I'm a data analyst. Oh, I have presentation skills. I have Excel skills. Those are the things I'm looking for.
Thank you so much. Competence and skills are very important. Your CV.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tinuke. Thank you for that, for taking us in your journey of your career. It was very, very mind-blowing and 1 or 2 things to learn. Share, is your audio better now?
I think so. What do you think?
Okay, this is good. So over to you, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Tinu. The next question will be to Niyi. There was something that Tinu mentioned, which I would like us to latch on, and then we'll just take it to the next stage. She talked about her journey not being straightforward. And Niyi, we would like you to just take it from there and tell us how much of a topsy-turvy or up and down you had in your journey, and then how it has brought you to where you are from when you started as a fresh graduate.
Okay. First of all, thank you to everyone, to the host, fellow panelists, the students. Really, really privileged to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Very well.
Okay, good. Yeah, so following up on what Tinu said, very rarely do you sort of have a journey that moves exactly as you planned. In my case, FUTA has come up a few times. I actually started in Nigeria. My first semester of university was in FUTA. Eventually, I left Nigeria about 20 something years ago to continue my undergraduate studies in the US. And because I had lost time, in my perception, I'd lost time. Most of my mates were many years ahead. I'd lost a few years along the way. So I came in very motivated to do as well as I could in school so I could land a job, which is typically what a lot of people think about towards the end of a career. So in my case, I sort of got involved with everything I could get involved with while I was in university, right? So I wanted to get as good grades as I could get. I was involved with different organizations, African Student Union, and things like that. So I got involved with as much. I volunteered in a lot of places. I got work experience, during internships, things like that, all to prepare me to land that first job. But to my surprise, maybe not, I shouldn't have been so surprised, even with everything that I had on my CV at the time, and I think I graduated top of my class as well, getting that first job was not easy. I probably applied to about 40 different companies over that period of time. I interviewed with maybe 10 or more of them. And usually at the time, the reason I got a no was typically because most companies wouldn't hire international students. So they wouldn't hire people that were not American citizens. And so it got frustrating, right? So every time you have an interview, they tell you they like what you have to say, they like your interview, but because you're not an American, we're sorry. And so this happened multiple times. And I got to a point where I'd decided to probably just go back to graduate school and get a master's. And so I decided I was going to give it one more shot. So I went to a job fair. It was a society of Black engineers. It was called the National Black Engineering Society of some type. So they offer job fairs every year. So I went to this one. I told myself if nothing comes out of this, then off to grad school. So in the same job fair, I probably talked to 50 different companies, and they usually will interview you on the spot. Sometimes they even give you job offers on the spot. So I interviewed over a 3-day period, interviewed with a lot of them, talked to a lot of them. And it was after, I think, the third day when I'd pretty much given up at that point. I was ready to go back to my hotel and pack my things and head to the airport the next day. I was on my way out when I ran into an old friend that we went to secondary school together. And she told me about a company that she had met somebody at the company, one of the booths at the job fair, and she recommended I go talk to them. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And in reality, I was just trying to get out of there. I was just trying to go back to my hotel. So I turned around, I pretended like I was going towards this booth. And then when the lady walked away, I turned around and started heading back to my hotel again. And then just when I got to the entrance, I ran into the same lady again. And she said, have you talked to these people? I said, nah, I just decided to go to my hotel. And she said, no, why don't you give it a shot? So she pulled me back, took me down to this booth. And I started talking to them. And up front, I told them, look, I'm not an American citizen. Let's just get that out of the way. And they said, oh, no, that shouldn't be a problem. And so then we started talking, had a couple of interviews with them that day. And then they told me I'll hear from them in a couple of days. And I heard from them actually by the end of that day. And they asked for me to come to the headquarters to come interview with them in a couple of weeks, I think it was. And so that's how I went for the interview. It was a one-day interview with 9 different people over a full day, all kinds of questions. And eventually I got my first job offer. And so all that to say, even when you think you've done everything right, I got the right grades, volunteered, participated in student union organizations, did all kinds of research for my professors. And even with all that, it still took many interviews, many job applications, and a whole lot of no's before I landed that first job.
So you started your career with Cummins, right?
Yes, I did.
So for those who do not know Cummins, they produce most of the engines that are in many of the trucks that we see around today, right?
Exactly. So Cummins is a diesel engine manufacturer. So they, if you see all those trailers, all those semi-trailers on the road, Cummins probably produces 40 to 50% of the engines that go in those trailers. They also produce power generators. So like your big industrial generators that power hospitals and power factories, things like that. So Cummins produces those as well. and a lot of the components that go in your engines. Cummins produces those. So Cummins at the time was one of the few American companies that would hire international students. So that's why in that case, you could call it luck, you could call it a little bit of good luck, and sort of God working His wonders that I happened to run into Cummins at that job fair.
Thank you so much, Nii. Thank you for a detailed explanation. I hope we're all having a very good time. I would like to ask Efe this question. Efe, are you there? Hello,
yes, I'm
Efe.
I'm
Okay,
here.
good.
You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Seeing
great.
that you have worked in UK, in France, and in Nigeria, what skills do you believe every graduate must possess or should possess to go ahead in their careers, choosing careers?
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I stand on existing protocols, and my fellow panelists, I think they have made a lot of justice to what we're here to do today. For every graduate, I would like to use a bit of my story. I believe, like what Tinuka said, have a vision, what you actually want to do. You might not know where exactly you're headed, but have something in your head that, okay, this is what where I envision myself to be headed, and this is what I do not want to do, because a lot of distractions will come along the way, all right? So this is fundamental. Then, having said that, one has to pursue this goal. I mean, it's one thing to have a vision, it's another thing to pursue the goal. This is like what wakes you up every day. It's a passion that gets you going. And how do you pursue this passion? I mean, things will come, people will flag different opportunities your way. When I started as a young engineer, after UTSEP NYC, some jobs were coming my way. I read engineering, mechanical engineering, like you have seen. And some friends would take my CVs to Zenny Bank, Diamond Bank. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the banks, okay? But I went for some tests just to get the experience of those tests, not because I wanted the jobs. And I eventually settled for a smaller company of 30,000 naira salary. This was because I know what I wanted, okay? So this is what I say, every young graduate should know what they want, work at developing yourself, because when you don't pursue the money, you work at developing your skills, regardless of your industry, it's going to prepare you for the future. So the first thing I believe is preparation. Take a lot of time to prepare yourself. It's good you're having a good start today as an undergrad. When I was in University of Benin, I never had any of these opportunities. Most of us on this panel today, we didn't have this opportunity, I'm sure, maybe for Nii who schooled in the US, but those of us that went to Nigerian universities, we never had this. Okay, so this is a very good way to start. Prepare yourself. Someone said preparation plus opportunity. This is what gives you success. So when you're prepared, the opportunity will still come. There are lots of opportunities, but you need to prepare. How do you prepare? Research. Do a lot of research. Thankfully today, everybody has social media accounts. I can bet that. You have Facebook, you have Instagram, and all sorts of social media. Everybody has a mobile phone today. As a young undergrad, you have a mobile phone. I mean, during our time, Tinuke already said that we'll go to cyber cafe, buy airtime, and you browse all night. Today, on your mobile phone, you have access to information all over the world. So you need to use that device for your good, to advance yourself and bring value to yourself and to your family. This is a major investment, I believe, your parents are making into you. Use that little device to bring value. During my time, when I was in the university at 300 levels, I used to read a lot of newspapers, and I saw a particular paper. I saw a name of one of the guys that was my senior, and I was like, what is this? And I saw PTDF. I don't know how many of us know of PTDF, Petroleum Technology Development Fund. Okay, and I was like, oh, I took note of it. I never knew that years down the line, I'm going to have an opportunity like this to have a PTDF scholarship. So, but today you have everything. You can search on the internet, what are the scholarship opportunities if you want to further yourself, if you want to, go to the industry directly. what are the next skills of the future? I mean, there are skills, everything is in the public domain. There are skills like creative thinking, problem solving. These are things that recruiters are looking for. So what are the skills that people are looking for, and how do you better yourself? Talk to people, have mentors, role models. So these are some of the areas that you can prepare yourself.
So thanks so much, Efe.
You're welcome.
You talked about having a vision. I remember when I was applying to the university, then I wanted to, because my dad wanted to have a medical doctor in the family. So I wanted to become the medical doctor, and I was a bit smart in the sciences then. But along the line, I ended up with biotechnology, and today I am in IT and also doing business. Now, I can see that you have also sojourned from engineering or mechanical engineering to economics. So I want to ask, how and what made you decide to change your profession, and was it an easy change?
Yeah, for me, it was quite an easy change, I would say. This brings me back to the subject of vision. When I started in undergrad, I'm not sure I had the vision, everything clearly, listed at, okay, at so year I will be at India, do an MBA. No, but I had a bit of an idea that where I want to be, what I want to do in the future. Okay, so, but as you go, you take baby steps, the vision starts getting clearer. And I started my journey. Unlike some other of my colleagues here, I have never had a gap year in my career. I got my first job offer as a youth corper. Okay. So I moved from one job to the next to where I am today. So, and this gave me the opportunity, and everything has always been in oil and gas. Today we call it the energy industry. I'm coming there. And so having the early start and moving from job to job gave me the opportunity to see the industry, both from the aspect of working for a contractor and working for a big organization. So over time, you see the industry started to evolve. It's very dynamic. Today, we're talking about energy, climate change. I mean, these are the things that are driving the world. But when I joined Total about 10 years ago, I knew I was going to do an MBA someday. But when I would do it, I never knew. So first look, I network, talk to people. Where is the industry headed? What are the skills of the future? How do I position myself? So it brings me back to preparation. Prepare for the opportunity and you get to success. How do I position myself? So in the course of talking to people, I have mentors, role models. You would see that most of the senior people we have at the top, they have seen the industry from different aspects. I mean, you can decide to be an expert, fine. But sometimes when you want to get to a certain level of decision making, it's expected that you see the industry from different aspects, both from the finance, from the technical. So I've done many years of technical and I wanted a bit of, financial experience. So this is why I started to transition to economics. So my transition, it's because, I wanted to get my hands dirty in, financial knowledge, how are business decisions taken. When I was a technical person, you could be working on a project, 6 months, 1 year down into the project, they can't tell you that, oh, management has stopped the project. And you're like, why? Things are driving it and this is money. Is the project valuable? Is it aligned with the vision of the organization? So these are the things that happens behind the scene. And until you have some of this experience of the financial knowledge, to be a top decision maker, it might be a little bit of a challenge. It doesn't mean that you can't get there. You can actually get there. But for some of us, I thought of a way to align myself for the future of my industry. Things have gone into energy. We're talking about AI today, cloud computing, So there's little you can really do when you are narrow on one path. You can do it, but I thought to broaden my horizon. So this is my drive for transitioning.
Thank you, Efimena. Share, please, can you continue?
Okay, Jiro. I want to appreciate all the speakers. Your contributions have just been mind-blowing so far. Thank you so much. The next two questions are for Yomi. Yomi, please could you unmute your mic? The first question will be, how can a potential candidate best stand out from the crowd during job interviews? You know, there are times you've been invited for an interview and you're pretty excited about it, and then you walk into the hall and you see like 7 other people there. And you really can't tell what your chances are at that point. But what would you advise as the HR person to our students? What would you say would be the best things that they should look out for or they should do so that they can stand out during their interviews? The question is for you, Yomi.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I hope everybody can hear me well.
Very well.
Okay, good. Thanks for the privilege, and I don't take it for granted. I think since my question is specific, so I want to respond specifically. So how do you stand out in an interview? I think the first thing is for you to know exactly what you are being interviewed for. Because what could make you stand out in an interview for an engineer in a manufacturing is going to be different from being interviewed as an engineer in an oil company, for example. So one of the things that you should first do is to know what does a job require in the organization you are going into. A doctor in an oil company is not the same as a doctor who works in lab suits. An engineer in 7-Up bottling company is not the same as an engineer in Julius Berger. What will make you stand out as an accountant in a consulting firm is not the same that make you stand out if you want to go and become an accountant in Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Finance. So you must first understand the organization and understand what are the unique qualities they require in the professional in that role. So, for example, I am an HR person and I sit on the panel. Okay, let me give you a real life example. There was this guy that the family brought to me to coach because the guy is very brilliant, but very cool-natured. He's an introvert. And he studied mechanical engineering, and they said he had attended, every time he writes an aptitude test, he gets called for interview, but fails at the interview level. And so they asked me to coach him. And so I took him on as a coaching candidate. And I asked him what was his interest. He said he was interested in manufacturing. So he wanted to work, for example, in Unilever, where they make things. He wanted to work in 7-Up. He wanted to work in Guinness, where they manufacture things. So I told him that, okay, let's do a demo. I gave him a demo interview to tell you respond. The guy is a very cool, very brilliant guy, but very cool natured, right? So very cool, talks quietly and slowly and one word at a time and all of that. And so after I finished, I said I was not going to hire him. And he said, why? I said, you see, while you are a good mechanical engineer, you have chosen to go and do mechanical engineer where you'll be working in production line. So, for example, if I am hiring you for 7-Up, I'm putting you on the production line. Everybody in that production line, right, is either a school start holder or attended technical school. So this your fine and cool English is not what you need there. I said, don't forget in that factory, right, it's noisy, right? The machines are making noise and all of that. You're talking in this low tone. I don't want an engineer who is going to be on that shop floor, who can talk and people can hear it, because that's not the engineer I need there. Now, if I want an engineer that will sit in a design office, yes, I can put you there. But for this role, I'm not going to take you. So I coached him. Is either you want to flex your interest to align with your personality, or you want to adjust your style to fit what you wanted. So he said, no, he still wants to work in those chain places. I coached him and taught him. The next interview he did was for one of the bottling companies. And based on the coaching he attended, spoke like somebody who was in charge. And I actually explained to him that an engineer on the shop floor in a conveyor-based institution is an engineer, but is much more like a tax manager. So you must go there, show you are in charge. He attended the next interview and he got the job. The guy is working there very well. So I'm using that for you to realize you must know the job required. So it's not just engineering, it's not just microbiology, it's not just finance. Is that I know in the context of the organization where I want. So in some organizations, they want people that are organized. In some organizations, they want people that look in a particular way. and or talk in a particular way or have a particular look. So you must understand that very clearly. When you understand that, then you must present yourself to show that difference. So if it's a place where they want an engineer who is a tax manager, you don't go to the interview and you're that cool guy. Please let me mention this to you. And I hope you will understand what I'm trying to say. An interview is like acting drama. You're not being deceptive, but you are acting to please people. You don't go to an interview to be yourself. People say, just be yourself. You are being observed, you are being watched. So it's not a place where you are supposed to just be yourself. You must be yourself in the context of the people watching you, right? So if the requirement is for a cool person, then you got to present yourself as a cool person. If the requirement is for somebody who is a go-getter, then you got to present yourself as a go-getter. If the requirement is for somebody so the question you need to ask yourself is, hey, I need to understand this job. I need to understand what makes people stand out there, and I need to play. The other thing is, if you are somebody who is naturally humorous or who is a very good speaker, you can also use that to show your distinction. So I remember many years ago, I attended an interview in Lagos. I think this was like 1996 or 1997. I attended the needed managers in UAC, Nigeria. And I got there, and the interview was going on fine. I mean, I didn't have any concern. There was this man that was on the interview panel who never said he was. Actually, I thought he was sleeping. And so I didn't know where. I was just wondering, why is he on the panel? The guy is not even asking questions. It was a panel of like 5 people. And then the man he just jumped out of sleep, or whether he was daydreaming, and just said, so who is the longest serving head of state in Africa? I was shocked. I mean, I was wondering, you want a manager in UAC? I'm not doing common entrance that they was general. Why are you asking me that kind of? I was asking that question. And interestingly, I think it was there was a longest serving president in Africa that died a few months ago. So I don't know who is the current one. So I didn't know the answer, right? I didn't know the answer. So I just said, so at that instance, I realized that I got to use humor and also show them I knew. It's just that the person just died. So I said, okay, all right. Oh, that's a very great question. That I used to know this person was the longest serving president in Africa, but I know he died like 3 or 4 months ago. And I don't know. And instead of saying I don't know who is, I now said, unfortunately, I don't know who he handed over the baton to. So everybody busted out laughing, and said, so I think someone else said, "Did they hand that baton?" I said, well, that's the way to describe it. It's just that I don't know who is the current longest serving, but I knew as at 4 months back, this was the person's died. So the man that asked going said, you are very correct. So this person was the longest serving 4 months back, but as at today, this person is longest serving. Now, you see, that question was supposed to be a question that was supposed to get me in trouble, but I used humor and I used my previous experience to make it become what they all laughed about. So even though, as I think they were going to score 10, maybe that question was 10 marks, there's no way they're going to give me 0, because I demonstrated I knew. I demonstrated I was comfortable with the fact that I didn't, and I was open enough to say that. So that's something you also want to put at the back of your mind. And I'm just going to stop on that note since you're asking those specific questions.
So, Omar, can I? Hello?
Hello? Yes,
Okay,
Efe, please jump in.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
I wanted to just give a personal example to what Yomi just said. Yomi, thanks very much for bringing that. Okay, so when I was doing my master's degree at Cranfield University, the university had the careers guidance and counseling department. I don't know if you have one at the university today, and at the time when we come in, different countries with their different methods of writing CVs, cover letters, and preparing for interviews, what they expect at interviews. So someone told me that take advantage of this department and use it to add value to yourself. So I started to go to the careers department. I had a timetable of when I go to careers department, and every interview that I go for, I do a mock interview. The guy will record me and play me back to myself and ask me questions that if you are the manager hiring, would you hire yourself? He will give me feedback, tips on how to get myself, prepared for interviews. So why I'm sharing this experience is just so that if you have this department at the university, students from maybe 300 level, penultimate year and the final years can start to take advantage of this, and prepare, know how to write your CVs, know how to prepare for interviews. You don't need work experience, truly. I mean, your activities in the students' bodies are enough for you to talk about, your problem solving. How did you organize? If it's a fellowship, I mean, you were in the Christian fellowship, you were a leader, you organized crusades. How did you, there were problems and you solved them. These are things that you can talk about confidently. So use your careers department and, write your stories. Have your stories handy because you never know when it will come, when you will need them. So take advantage of the careers department. And if you don't have one, maybe Professor, it can be a recommendation to look into that, to consider to have one to assist the students. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. If a very beautiful addition to what Yomi had said. Yomi, back to you. There were a couple of things that Ife said, and then Tinuke and all the other panelists before you spoke about skills and networking. And I want your take as a HR person. How can I capture those skills and the networking I've done in the past in a way that will make me the best possible candidate for a particular position I'm applying to?
Please, can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, let me rephrase it. Previous panelists have talked about skills and networking. Now, as a HR professional, I would like you to advise us and our students, how do we capture the skills that we have? Networking, if I mentioned a couple of them just now, like perhaps fellowship, how do we capture them in a way that a HR person will understand what we are trying to say and see us as likely candidates for a particular position, particularly networking, because students hang around each other a lot, but we don't think of some of those things as networking. So how can we translate what we do now into a sellable skill?
Okay, so maybe the question to then ask, maybe the way to then look about it is for people to have a competency-based mindset when it comes to jobs. So, for example, if you're studying microbiology, or you're studying accounting, or you're studying engineering, or studying HR, whatever you're studying, there will be a set of competencies required for that position. So, for example, if you're studying engineering, there's the technical engineering competency required. So if I'm studying mechanical, it could be that I'm going to be a power person and I'm going to be somebody who is going to be doing fluid mechanics. So there's a technical requirement of an engineer, same as an accountant. But there's also what people call soft skill requirements, or what people call additional skills requirement, or additional competency. So it may be like teamwork, it may be like communication skills, it may be like networking skills and all of that. One of the things I would like to encourage every student listening now is to go and engage people that are seniors in the profession to understand what are those competencies required. So what we generally say is that every profession has what is called foundational competency. So I'm a lawyer, I'm a general accountant, I'm an engineer. Being an engineer is the foundational competency. It's the foundation. That's what gets you into the game, right? But for you to win the game, you need more than that. It's just like any footballer. For you to become a footballer, you must know how to play football. But for you to win Ballon d'Or, you must be able to be a good player like a Messi. So you must maybe be able to know how to dribble, be able to score, be able to use your head and your left leg and your right leg, and be a Messi or a Ronaldo, as the case may be. So what you are studying in university is your foundational competency. You need to ask the people currently in the field, what are those additional competencies that I need? Now, when you have identified that, I can bet you that all of them you currently have in various ways. It's just that you're not using the right language. So I like to give this example. So let's assume, for example, you want to go and apply for a job as the logistics manager for Cecilia Hebrew University, right? That's what you have done. And honestly, one of the previous speakers said, "Oh, I don't have." She applied for a job, she doesn't have experience. I always tell people, you have experience. It's just that you don't know how to present the experience. So let's assume you grew up in Lagos, you're a Lagos boy, or wherever, doing fuel scarcity, or you are the one that used to take care of your junior ones, or you are the one that was a class captain, or you are the one that is this president of student association. In that, there's leadership. In that, there is strategic planning. In that, there is budgeting. In that, there is everything you want to call. So if they ask you, oh, so tell us what time you have demonstrated your capacity to manage a stressful situation. Hey guys, you guys are students. Every day is stressful as an undergraduate, right? Now, so you just present it in the context. You don't need to tell us what was stressful, whether it's that there was no light, but you just need to describe how you managed that stress using the original lingo expected of you. So for example, I always say this everywhere. It's just another interesting way to look at it is that, okay, so let's say there was fuel crisis, and if you have lived in Nigeria for some time, there will have been time when there was no fuel, right? And then you are the one in your house that had responsibility to go and hustle for fuel for the generator for the car. So you go early in the morning, you go and buy fuel, then you store it, then you keep it. And then the next week they ask you to come and talk about interview, and part of the job is somebody who knows how to do warehousing. I hope you know that you keeping that petrol under the staircase or under is warehousing. I hope you know that, right? I hope you know that you being able to go through last month, go through those government officials is having stakeholder engagement skills to be able to get the results you want. I hope you know every time you went to the market and they asked you that a ball of plantain is 10 naira and you negotiated 15 naira. I hope you know that's negotiation skills. I hope you know that's bargaining and all of that. And for the guys here, every time you toasted a babe, I hope you know that's also conversion of leads, right? And you know that you are getting customers. And for everybody who is a lady that has been toasted that said no, you also know that's also ability to say no. You also know that's the ability to also select customers. And also that's the ability to fire and hire. So you realize at every point you are demonstrating these competencies, but it's that you don't have the right language. So if you don't know, you will be saying it in such a way that will not inspire me. Don't forget this. At every interview panel, the people on the panel, they are looking for somebody that will inspire them, right? So for example, Ife is here now, right? So Ife is on the panel and I'm listening to her. If you can see everything that is correct, but I'm not inspired. Maybe the only reason is because if he's not using the language that will inspire me, right? So ask yourself, what inspires people in that field? And I'm sure some people, what do you mean by inspire? So when the musician sings, what's the cocoa? What's the cocoa? And you memorize what's the cocoa. That cocoa is what inspired you. When you were in school, you were taught French. Many people hated French, right? I didn't like French when I was in school. But at a particular time, one man came from somewhere, and his name is Awilo Lobumba, and he started singing in French. Comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle tu pomba. I memorized it for the first time in my life. I liked French because he inspired me by using French in a lyric. So that's something you want to add to yourself, and that's why you need to understand that particular lingo that inspires people in that field and gets them to like what you are doing. So, for example, now, this is Michael and MCIU University, for example. So let's assume I want to come and apply for a job now, right? I know that, for example, that your vice chancellor is he studied physics, exceptional physics. Interestingly, I'm not sure she knows me, but I know I met her for the first time in 1989. I had to go and sign the course in her office with my friend. She was a lecturer in FUTA then, but I'm not sure she knows me. I actually ran into trouble with her that day. So I want to come and ask for a job in this university, and she's a vice chancellor. Now I'm an HR person. I know she studied physics. I will likely be speaking at that panel words that will appeal to her as somebody who is a guru in physics. So, for example, if they say, okay, which course will you be taking? I say, okay, I want to be taking organizational development. And he asks me, so what does organizational development mean? If I'm talking to Efe, it's going to be different from the way I'm going to talk to Professor Fuakwe. Because she's a physics, I will use lingo she understands. So I'll say, organizational development is about we using finding ways to build momentum in the employees to generate velocity that will ensure that they're able to have output. I will tell her, for example, power is determined by force over strength. So our goal in that session is to be able to help the employee. So I'm going to be using words that she can relate with. If she doesn't understand what I'm saying, the fact that I'm appealing to those words, of course, if it is going to be Mrs. Cecilia Ibu, then I go banking and I say, okay, my goal is just to have student employees who will be able to give you enough returns at the end of the day. If you're trying to do like a trial balance, my goal is an employee whose liability is not going to be greater than the asset. All I'm doing is to appeal to her to be inspired to want. If it's a pastor that is on the panel, I'm going to appeal to the pastor. And so that's part of what we need to do when we go to those panels. Learn to know what will inspire them and inspire them.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Yomi. Really inspiring. I mean, your responses have also been very, very inspiring. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like Tinuke to also weigh in if she's still here. She's also a HR person, and I know she kind of responded to the question about discrimination in terms of age or gender, or if you're married or single. And I wanted to ask, when you have those kind of situations as a fresh graduate looking for a job, should you even bother applying? Because we have a lot of instances where people want jobs and let me just try. So as a HR person, if I'm already above the age, would you still consider me if I have every other thing that you are looking for? So would you advise our students to still apply, like try your luck? Or should we just be beat down every time there's a barrier to us, getting that position that we want?
Thank you, Mache. I think I touched this briefly while I was talking about my employment journey. I'd said that my dream then, my goal then was I wanted to work in a multinational consulting outfit. And then the first slap in the face was you don't have a 2-1, so you can't come in. That was about 2004, 2005, thereabout. So how many years after that? I think 12 years after then, there was an advert for an experienced manager in PwC. PwC is a global firm and is one of the big fours. And yes, I mean, we all know the criteria, 2-1, blah, 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 blah. So when I saw that advert, I mean, the thought came again, these people, it's 2-1 or nothing, so don't just bother yourself. But something in me said, no, I've gathered experience. In the course of work, I've also gone ahead to get a master's. I think I should give it a shot. Whatever it is, the 2-1 was supposed to be for at the entry level. I think I've made up for it in one way or the other. I'm still going to give it a shot. And I went ahead and applied and I got the job. And it was later I heard that, okay, for experienced hire, there's an unwritten rule that, if you have extensive experience and you have probably a second degree, a higher degree, they waive the 2-1, but I never knew about that. All right. So yes, there will always be barriers. There will always be restrictions. When you look through your pool as an HR professional sitting on a panel, you interviewed 6, 7, 8, 20, 15 people. And the person, you said you only want a guy, not more than 25 years of experience. And the only person that did well was a female. Would you sacrifice that and say, because the war for talent is real. So I don't want to sit on interview panels day in, day out looking for something that is not missing when I found it in someone. All right. So, I mean, don't sit down back there. Don't disqualify yourself before even facing, that interview. Put yourself out there. Once you've done your own bit of work, you've gathered the experience, the skills, the competencies, and then you've gathered the communication skill. Give yourself that opportunity to shine.
Can I mention something?
Can I add to that?
Okay. Sorry, Nii, go on.
Thank you very much, Nuke. very beautiful answer. Give yourself the opportunity to shine. I hope all students listening are taking that point. So if it will come back to you, but let's take Nii first.
Yeah, so just wanted to add to what Atinu said. I think every interview, every opportunity you have to interview is an opportunity to learn. So I don't think any interview is ever a waste of your time, right? I personally believe you should start learning. The way you get good at interviewing is to do as many of them as you can. And the earlier you start, the better. So I would say, I think it was FA that said she got her first job right out of NYSC. I think the first time you should begin applying to jobs is when you start your NYSC. Spend that first year applying to places, interviewing, even though maybe you might not get that job, right? Because as you apply, you learn how to tailor your CV, you learn how to interview, you learn the kinds of questions they're asking, and a lot of companies tend to ask very similar types of questions. So I don't ever think that any interview is a waste. Even when they say you need to be 25 years old and you're 26 or 27, I would still apply. The truth is there's always exceptions to be made. Like Tinu said, if you're the best interviewed candidate on that panel and the difference is because you're 2 years older, exceptions can be made. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Nii. Exceptions can be made. Efe, let's hear from you, please.
Yes, I agree very much with Tinuke and Nii. Just to share, I've got two experiences on this. The first one was the very first job I got as a youth corper. At the time, I had done interviews with Michelin, and I had interviewed with Schlumberger. Schlumberger asked me for my passing out certificate. I didn't have it. So for this reason, they penalized me. I cannot apply for 2 years. But it didn't stop me. I was applying to other companies. So there was this day as a youth corper, someone said, oh, there's a company looking for engineers. So I had a CV then. I kind of had this CV that would stand out. If you see the CV, you will love it. There's this paper they used to call Conqueror paper. It's like cream color. I don't know if you know it, like a certificate. So Conqueror was not cheap. It was 14 naira per paper. And my CV was 2 pages. So I will buy Conqueror paper with my NYC money, print my CV in multiple copies. So we went to this company and we got there. They said, oh, the interview had started on that day. And they said, the receptionist collected all the CVs and looked at my own and said, oh, sorry, we're not looking for a mechanical engineer, that we're looking for chemical engineering graduates, So I was like, okay, just take my CV. She didn't want to take it, but I had to insist. And she was like, okay, because you are pushing, let me just collect it. So she took my CV. I left. This was in Port Harcourt. I left and I had entered a bus. I mean, I came from an average family like most of us. I've entered a bus on the Aba Road going back to where I was living at the time. And shortly afterwards, she called me and said, where are you? Can you come back? The panel wants to see you. So immediately I made a stop, made a U-turn, and I went back. So they interviewed me. One of the guys said, oh, wow, it's even a lady. They saw the CV. That when they saw the CV, the impression was whoever has the CV must be a serious person. For the sake of the CV, they called for me to be interviewed. And this was the first job I got in my life. So, I mean, I was initially disqualified, but the CV standard. So give yourself those opportunities to shine. I don't know how Tinuke had put it, but there are things you can do, little things here and there. Write your CV very well, cross your T's, dot all your I's. These are things that people look at for. The second experience was in the UK, my first job in the UK, and I've had a lot of rejection because I don't have a British passport. I have a Nigerian passport, and I kept applying regardless. So I went for this particular interview. One of the tips I had learned from my career service was when you finally get for the final interview, try to stand adjacent to the authority in the room, whoever is going to make the decisions. So I got there, thankfully we did lunch first before the meeting. So I got to figure out whom the senior manager was in the room. So when I got in for the interviews, I stood kind of opposite him, made presentation, looked at him eyeball to eyeball. When I finished, the first person I asked a question was him. And I asked him, Richard, would you have a question, please? And he said, oh, no question. He's very happy with my presentation. So he asked his team. Nobody asked a question. I got the job. Some guys, after I got into the company, told me that they actually had questions to ask. But because their manager was very satisfied from his feedback, and they were like, oh, come on, if my manager is satisfied, why do we want to put this girl under, tension, So I got the job offer too, after many, many rejections because I didn't have a British passport. This was when the UK was undergoing recession, 2008, 2009, at the time. I got a job offer as a Nigerian with a Nigerian passport, no British passport, and the company sponsored my work permit at the time. So there are ways that you can, little things you do as a young person to give yourself that opportunity to stand out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ife. Give yourself the opportunity to shine. That's my personal take home today. So we have a question for all our panelists. We are so appreciative of the time that you have spent sharing with us from your wealth of experience. The question is, what is the best career advice you have ever received? We'll start with Ife. She just finished speaking, so we'll just start with Ife, then we'll go to Nii, Tinuke, and then Yomi. The best career advice you have ever received. Ife, over to you.
Okay. The fundamental advice I got when I entered Uniben, I can't remember who gave me that advice, was to make life easy for you tomorrow, ensure to make it 2-1. Because having a 2-1 is going to open some doors. It's not for you to use those doors to show yourself. I mean, you have had Tinuke's experience. A 2-1, give yourself a target. This was the fundamental advice I got. Then when I went for my master's degree, the very best advice I have got all my life was that treat your job search as one of your core courses. If you have, back then we used to say 6 units, 6 credit course. I don't know how you call it in the university today. Treat your job search as a core course. After all the said and done, all the first class and the 2-1, what you want is to have a good job, or you could be an entrepreneur, whatever thing you want to do, treat it as a core course. Have a folder. It can be in your email, it can be in your computer, for all the jobs you're looking for, all the jobs you apply to, your cover letters, your CV, treat it as a core course. There's no compromise about that. This was my best career advice. Start early, and I had it in my study timetable. There are times to study. There are times if I'm spending 4 hours to study, I have 1 hour that I use to, research, job search, and all that. So this is my best career advice, and it's worked for me. It's still working for me today. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Yeah, Nii, please, can we hear from you?
Yeah.
Best career advice you've ever received.
Best career advice. So this might apply maybe more in sort of my field of profession. But my mentor, one of my mentors, we always sort of divide the types of jobs you do in my industry into what we call staff jobs and line jobs. So line jobs are jobs where you are accountable to deliver whatever is required to be delivered, whatever that is. And staff jobs are usually the jobs that support other people to deliver what they need to deliver. So for instance, if you work in a plant, the plant manager might be a line job, and say maybe the finance manager might be a staff job, for instance. And I've always seen myself as a generalist, that does different things at different times. So one of the best advice I got was, for every staff job you do, in other words, a support type of job, make sure you do 2 line jobs. In other words, jobs where you are the one accountable to deliver the results. And that's always stood with me, because if you want to progress within your career, a lot of times you have to be the one that makes the decisions, and you have to be the ones that delivers the results. And so in my industry, I've always made that a goal to make sure for every support type of role I do 2 jobs where I'm the one accountable to deliver the results. Obviously, that comes with risk. The fact that you're the one accountable to deliver the results can also mean you don't deliver the results. But usually, the people that take the risk tend to be the ones that that get the biggest notice within a company.
Thank you very much, Ni. It means you're holding yourself to higher standards because you are making yourself your own supervisor and you are reporting to yourself in essence, which is really good because it creates a level of responsibility and maturity as a professional. Thank you very much. Tinuke, best career advice ever received?
All right. For me, it's have a goal, have a dream, have a vision, and don't be afraid to pursue it.
Thank you very much. Have a goal, dream, and vision, and don't be afraid. One of the biggest challenges we have sometimes is fear. And once we can overcome fear, I mean, the sky is the starting point. Mr. Yomi, best career advice you have ever received?
I'm a church boy. For me, my best career advice is that's very wonderful scripture. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might. So for me, as a student, I got that information. So that drove me to be the best student I could be. That drove me to be the best I could be in every area of my life. I think the other one is related to same from the church angle about you having trust that things will work in your favor. You know, there's a sense in which many times we disqualify ourselves because we feel we are not qualified. So for me, that second one is related to just the fact that you just have a positive attitude to life. And maybe the third one is related to being willing to serve people in any capacity. A couple of years back, I wanted to teach in a university. I actually had a goal to teach in that university because I felt it was going to be cool for my CV. And I walked up to them to say I would teach, and they said they didn't have a space. So I told them that I'll teach for free. And they said, why do you want to teach for free? I said, because I want to teach in this university. I want to be called a lecturer in this university. So they said, okay, we'll allow you to teach for free. I said, the second thing I will also do is that I will design the course I will teach. And you will advertise it and people will rush it. And they said, well, they are not sure it's not happened before. So I designed the course. I chose to teach for free. They advertised it and they got hundreds of people applying for that course. And so I was teaching for free till one day they called me in the afternoon and told me that, so that was from the point of view of service and doing things, volunteering as the case may be, which is also something that comes from being a church boy. And then they called me from that university once and said that they want me to come and take a course, that's my course for a special group of people. So I remember I told them that, I've been the one calling you and I was doing it for free. Now that you are the one calling me, the terms has changed. When there's a change of the law, there's also a change of the priesthood. The terms have changed. So as long as I call, I do it for free. If you call, we can't do the same thing. And they said, so what do you want? I say, I don't want anything. I'm just saying you should do what you do to other people you call. And that's how I started getting paid to teach in that same university I taught for free. So something that's also I learned from being a church boy. You can achieve anything in life if you are willing to start and do it for free. And then, but while you're doing it for free, you're getting competence, you're getting recognition. The money will come sometimes down the line. So those three for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Yomi. Thank you for being a church boy and making us understand how service can catapult us to our next level. I also had a fair share of those kind of experience. Personally, for me, almost everything I started from the church, and it's been awesome. Even my business started from church. So thank you so much, Yomi, for that. And we're receiving some questions from the students. In order to save time, we'll just ask the questions directly from here. So somebody is asking, what are the employment opportunities open to graduates with a second-class lower degree in a multinational company? I would also like me to jump on that question, please.
Please, can you ask again? I didn't get the question very well. Sorry.
What are the employment opportunities open to graduates with a second-class lower degree in multinational company?
Oh, again, well, I mean, there will always be opportunities. The question is how you want to present it. Let's start with facts. Let's start with facts. Nigeria has a high number of graduates today. There are so many people that graduate. So one reason why many companies are asking for 2-1 or first class, as the case may be, is because there are too many people, so they just want to sort. It's just a sorting issue. It's not a question of the fact that you can do the job. So one thing you need to ask yourself is that what can I add to my 2-2 that will make me stand out? So if you studied accounting, go do ICANN. If you're an engineer, start to think about your Korean registration. Anything you want to do, see what you can add to it. But most organizations are coming to realize now that having a first class or a 2-1 does not necessarily mean you are the best. You are the best student, as the case may be. I mean, I was just telling somebody last 3 days ago, when JAM came out with the result of JAM and said people did poorly and people were saying that, and I'm like, I mean, all those things don't show who is brilliant. When I wrote JAM the first time, I got 197. When I wrote it the following year, I got 203. So I asked myself, in 1 year, I only added 5 marks. So how many years will I need to write JAM before I get 270? So after I just got to 203, I just said, any course this course carries me to, I'm not doing, because if I write it next year, it will be 2.8. If I write it next year, it will be 213, 218. And then there are courses they were asking for 270. I'll be an old man before I make cutoff mark. So I just spec the year after second year, I'm not doing the year, I'm okay with them. So question you need to ask yourself is that because you have a 2.2 does not mean you're a 2.2 product. You only have a certificate that says it's 2.2. Separate yourself from that. But look for what you need to do that will show your distinction. So if you're an engineer, start supervising projects. If you're a lawyer, go to your law school and all of those things. But remember, it's just companies looking for ways to weed people off. Nobody has stopped you from having a 2.2, as the case may be. Today, and I keep telling people this, that sometimes what happens is that we just disqualify us, and some of the previous speakers have talked about it. Nobody stops anyone from becoming the best it can be or where it chooses to work. I studied estate management in the university. I work in the oil industry. When I was in the university, I had a nickname because I studied estate management. You don't want to hear it, but I'll tell you, the nickname they called me was caretaker. Because estate management helps people to take care of their house. They used to call me caretakers. My course mates were in engineering, were in geology. They used to call them geomillions. In my graduating set, only 2 of us work in the oil industry. The first person studied electrical. The second person is me that studied estate management. The caretaker of old is now working in the oil company. So, people ask me, so how did you get to work in the oil company? I say, I know the address. They had vacancy. They said they wanted somebody that can do something. I remember I understand the subject. I applied. They did interview. They served to my hand. I served to their hand back. They gave me a job. I resumed. And that's what I've done in the last 17, 18 years of my life. So don't disqualify yourself because you had a 2.2 or you had a 3rd class. You may actually be the best candidate some organization are looking for. And any organization that doesn't want you, know that they are the one that have lost a great candidate. There's a bigger organization down the road.
I actually have, do you have a minute? I actually have an example years ago. I went on a recruiting trip with Cummins, and we used to go to all the same kind of place where I got hired years earlier. So I would volunteer to go help recruit there too. And Cummins had a similar role in the US. You had to get, the scale is different though. On a scale of 4.0, you have to get a 3.0 graduation for them to even consider you for hire. And so that's what we always did. Any CV we looked at, if we didn't have a 3.0 or higher, we wouldn't consider it. But I remember on one of those recruiting trips, there was this lady that came up and she had a 2.89, I think it was. And naturally, the natural tendency was to put her CV in the red folder. But she actually handed me the CV and started to talk to me. So she said, I know that I don't have a 3.0, but let me tell you about everything else I've done. And so this lady, even though she had a 2.0, from talking to her, I found out that she was a single mom. She was raising 2 kids by herself. She was working a full-time job at a General Motors plant. So she was working at night at a General Motors plant, raising her kids, and going to school at the same time and still had a 2.89. So guess what I did? So I went back to my fellow recruiters. I said, I understand that 3.0 is what we look for, but I will take this lady that has done all these other things and still got a 2.89 over a 3.0 that hasn't. And we had to actually escalate and get approval. Eventually, we were able to interview that lady, and she eventually got hired. So the point being, again, exceptions can be made if you can state your case, if you can take initiative. That lady, she took the initiative. She didn't just assume because she didn't get a 2.0, she wouldn't apply. She walked up and talked about what she had done and why she thought she should be the right candidate. So fully agree with Yomi that don't disqualify yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Don't disqualify yourself is what we'll take on from here. There's another question, and I would like Tinuke to jump on this. I know I think Tinuke or if he has made mention of this earlier, but I'd like Tinuke to jump on this. Please, can you enlighten students on the necessary skills needed for getting employed?
Okay. Like you said, I think I did a rundown of that earlier on. So for fresh graduates, I think Yomi also said something in that regard. For fresh graduates, any experience at all, it was trying to identify the different experiences you could have gathered in the course of even being at home, running errands and all that. As much as possible, try and get some experience. It doesn't matter where you get it from. Experience to work in a team. While I was on campus, I was the social director for so association. Through that experience, whenever we are doing graduate hire in PwC, these are things we are looking out for because, you may not have the technical experience, but we are looking at those soft skills and how you've been able to demonstrate them. All right. Your teamwork, have you worked in a team before? Have you worked on any project before? It might be, while we wanted to do a fundraising, this is what we did, this is how we went about it. So it gives you an experience on projects. So have you done anything project? Have you done anything in the area of leadership? Have you been a coordinator, for an event, for an association? So how, can you demonstrate leadership? So we are looking at these soft skills that, we believe at any point in time, you should have been able to experience them, whether you are in school, whether you are doing internship, or even your interactions with your colleagues. So to put it in a bucket, ability to work in a team, leadership competency, working on project management, and then most organizations will also assess you based on their values. So they will ask you questions, based on their values because they want to be sure you have the right behavior. So for example, in PwC, we have integrity, we have working together, we imagine the impossible, we have care. So we'll ask you questions along those areas. So strong understanding of the organization you're applying to, understand the business, understand what their core values are, understand, Yomi said, speak the language of the business, know what they are doing, and then be able to speak to some things you have done in that space. I think those are critical elements every graduate, I think, should put in there. And of course, courage. When Nia was talking a while ago, what that lady simply exhibited was courage. You have to have an element of courage, because there are millions and millions of people jobbing for that same job. So you have to be bold and courageous. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tinuke, for telling us that we have to be bold and courageous. Thank you so much. I want to say a big thank you to all of our panelists. There's been a lot of take home even for me, and I believe same for the students and every other person here. Our time is fast spent. Without wasting much time, I would like to have the goodwill message from our co-founder, Dr. Mrs. Cecilia Ibru. She was here earlier, but I think she has gone to attend to something else. She spent so much time with us. She's gone to attend to something else. We'll have a representative read the goodwill message from her. Oscar, if you are there, unmute your mic and please read the goodwill message from Dr. Mrs. Cecilia Ibru. Oscar, are you there? Oscar, are you there? Share, if you have the copy, can you please help Oscar? I don't think Oscar is here.
Yes, I have it.
Please go
I'll
ahead.
I'll be reading the goodwill message from the co-founder, the president, co-founder of Michael and Cecilia Foundation and the chancellor of Michael and Cecilia Hebrew University. It gives me great pleasure to be a part of this defining moment in the lives of our students. I congratulate our seasoned panelists for doing justice to a topic that affects our young graduates in society today. Getting the right skills to complement the academic qualifications you possess as a graduate is highly commendable and something that we cannot overemphasize. There is a need to bridge the gap between the workplace requirements and the educational sector. That is why webinars like this are critical and integral to the development of well-rounded students come graduates. We need to constantly be in a state of doing, of becoming. Together, we can create a value chain and develop quality ideas that will impact our graduates and improve our learning culture. Remember, education is the greatest asset any nation can give its citizens. Thank you and God bless you.
Round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ma, for having us. Thank you. I want to say a big thank you to all of our panelists again. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate you taking out time to join us today. Can we have the SRC to give a vote of thanks? Can we have the SRC come to give a vote of thanks? Go ahead, please.
Good day, the Vice Chancellor, Registrar, panels that spoken to us about great influencing moments and things. Thank you for not just words of encouragement and a very beautiful lecture about work and experience skills and competence, how to answer questions because at this stage of our life we are afraid. I don't want to use the word afraid per se, but we don't know what to expect when we go out to the outside world. So I'm very, very grateful to the panel spoken to us about not just not only go for interviews, but also to get skills that are necessary. Thank you very much. And God bless you.
Thank you, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Although we couldn't hear you, I know that you're trying to thank all the speakers. I want to say many thanks to Efemena Yede, a daughter of the soil. I want to say a very big thank you to Mr. Yomi for giving us very practical approach to life situations. Thank you very much to Tinuke for making us understand that the road to success is not easy. You have to jump through, you have to pass through hurdles, and for showing us the hurdles that you pass through. I want to say big thank you to to Nee for your wealth of experience and for how you have showed us what to do and at certain times. I want to say a big thank you to the leadership of MCIU for organizing such a seminar to reach out to the students. Many of us in our time, we didn't have this opportunity, but today the school is taking this initiative to make sure that students get it right in line with their mission and vision of the school. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has taken out time to attend this meeting. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, and all the best for the students.
Bye.
Mr. Conway, you deserve a cow.
Please bring it. Cow is very expensive now. Please bring it.
You deserve one cow. On behalf of